Hey there, I'm Steve, and welcome to Jam Center Entertainment. And welcome to the conversation. Just before we get started, there are many ways you can help. You can like and subscribe so you never miss a conversation. But most importantly, please share this video. Get the word there's a community we can talk about all things that we love. Today on Throwback Thursday, looking at Rango. Starring Johnny Depp, Isla Fisher, Abigail Breslin, Ned Beatty, Alfred Molina, Stephen Root, and Bill Nye. This movie is hilariously and delightfully weird. It starts out with this chameleon riding along in a car inside of his aquarium, cage, glass box. Anyway, his owners are driving off somewhere. He doesn't have a name to begin with. He names himself Rango later in the movie. In this bit, the first 5 to 10 minutes or so, the chameleon is acting with the things that are put inside of his glass box. One of them is a dismembered Barbie doll. Another one is a toy fish, a palm tree, and what else was in there? I can't remember. This movie is hilarious from beginning to end. His owners don't get into a car crash per se, but he gets flung from the vehicle into the desert somewhere in America. It's one of the highways that goes on forever, and it's in a desert. He gets lost, kind of. There's an armadillo that got ran over that tells him he needs to head westward. If he heads out into the desert from the road, he'll find a town called Dirt. And on his way there, he meets Beans, who is an animal I'm not familiar with. Maybe she's a salamander now that I think of it. I don't know, she's some kind of reptile. But the word goes from he's a pet in the human world to now there's an animal world, and they have a town, a working government. I mean, there's a mayor of the town Dirt. They have their own clothes, their own guns, their own saloon with their own alcohol. It's like I said, this movie is delightfully weird. The human world still exists. They kind of step into it very briefly at some point in the movie, but they don't see any humans. It just show the human world. The big plot in this movie is water shortage. The town doesn't have its own supply, and there's a bank just for the water, and it goes missing. Now, I jumped ahead a little bit, but that's the overall plot. The chameleon gets into town, and he goes into the saloon. He realizes that no one knows who he is, and so he starts acting, which is also lying because he's none of the things that he says he is. I watched this with my brother the other night, and we've seen this movie before years ago. Like 10 to 15 years ago, something like that. And I told him, if I remember correctly, the chameleon character Magoo's his way through the movie. What that means is, for the younger audience, and it pains me to say that, but I am going to be 39 at the end of this month, Magoo is a character that stumbles his way successfully through life. That kind of happens here. So while the chameleon's in this saloon, he's putting on a big show for the people there, and they ask him his name, and he has this bottle of cactus alcohol, and there's a name of it, but he covers up most of it, and you can just read Rango, and he just tells people that. And he's Rango for the rest of the movie. And the shenanigans that all the characters in this movie get up to is hilarious. I didn't feel bored once in this entire movie. So on the technical side, this movie came out in 2011. These graphics are absolutely amazing for 2011. There's one sand effect. It's towards the end of the movie. It doesn't spoil anything. This one sand effect looks like actual sand being blown in the desert. It's insanely real. Watch it this time and it was like, whoa! And my brother was like, the sand effect? I was like, yeah! It's so good! Compared to today's movies, some of them, these graphics blow them out of the water. And it's a 13-year-old movie. Math is not my strong point. And I was kind of thinking, when I was thinking that, watching the second time, that I think in general, I mean, unless they're working in live action, and even then, graphics, I don't know, they kind of plateaued, and in some cases, the budget's just not there on the screen, especially if it's a completely animated film. Which, grant you, you don't have to go for realism every time you make a animated film. There are styles out there, but it just seems like the level of detail is missing from a lot of movies that is in Rango. It's just insane amount of detail they put into this 13 years ago. My brother and I had a blast with this movie. We were busting the gut through most of it because it's hilarious. I mean, it's not jokes all the time, so you're not busting the gut through the entire movie. There are rare movies like that. But you're going to enjoy it. Watch it with the kids. They'll enjoy it. And as I was watching this, one thing I said I was going to mention earlier, but I forgot to mention. I'm going to mention it here. trying to remember what I said exactly when I watched this with my brother. I said something like, Rango has the look and feel of a kid's movie, but the sophistication of an adult comedy, without really the adult humor in there. There's some, but it's not so much where it's in your face. It's very subtle, and I appreciate that. So I do highly recommend you watch this. If you have kids, they'll enjoy it, and you got to get this on Blu-ray. Those are my thoughts on Rango. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and live your imagination.